you over.
Thank you. My name's Andy, I'm an addict. Yeah, and my home group is the Fire Unite Swindon Newcomers meeting. We meet there every Friday at 6 o'clock. And there ain't that many people that come, to be honest. It's relatively a new meeting. It's about a year old. We studied a book. Generally, it's a book study meeting. We found that those that can identify with some of the stuff that we read, they do tend to stick around. Generally, they'll go off, disappear for a short time, then they'll come back, and it's pretty cool. We've got a good mixture of people in there, a bit like tonight. Good mixture of people, and we've got people in there still using. Paul, known Paul for a lot of years. He's struggling. He's he's the tea person. He's always texting me, "Oh, I'm not sure if I can make it tonight. I can't afford to buy the milk." We all meet up generally before the meeting for a chat and for a coffee, and we sort of go over what we're going to read. But we've all generally the most of the group members in there have they've recreated their lives, or they're sort of like fit and healthy. And Paul's there. He's like, I think he's about 6.5 stone, and he can't inject anymore. It's all, his veins are all crashed, and he's addicted to various, pregabalin and benzos. And he still comes. He's been missing. He's gone missing. Goes missing quite a lot, to be fair. But we're always there. You know what I mean? We're always there for him. We just turn up for him, basically, in the hope that one day we'll be able to stop using for a period of time, and then we can sort of work with him a bit better and try and get him clean. But for him to keep coming in and seeing all us looking all right, having our lives back, it hurts me. You know what I mean? It's that should be him. He's been in rehab several times. He's not allowed to see his kids unless he's supervised. It's just it's really painful. I suppose that's the nature of addiction for a lot of people. For some, it gets worse than that, doesn't it? And I was going to read out all the names in the front of my book that I wrote of all people that I know since I've been clean who have died of this illness, and all of those have had some brief interaction, with Cocaine Anonymous. They're not guys that didn't know about CA, yeah. So they knew. Most of them went to at least one meeting. Some of them went through the whole of the steps. Some were sponsoring others. Billy, my mate from Bournemouth, we went to the Spanish Convention together, 2012. He was working with others. He was in the book with a few people down in Bournemouth, and taking regular inventory, praying and meditating, looking at the 4 absolutes, doing all sorts of stuff around Cocaine Anonymous, and he's not here anymore. And it's it's quite sad, I wish that I could do more for those people, I suppose the reason why I'm sat here today is that hopefully somebody in the room will, pick up on something, or it might lead them to ask a question, or they might get upset by something I say, perhaps, or confused or something. They might go away and go to another meeting, and they might hear it again, and it might sink in. That's sort of a lot of people's experience, isn't it? They hear something, they won't take it in, or they might not think they've taken it in, and then they hear it again, and it'll sink in. Yeah, and that's sort of my experience. I've been coming to meetings for probably about, maybe sort of 10 years. I'm 7 and a bit years clean. I'm sponsored out of Cocaine Anonymous, out of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I sponsor other people in the same way, and some of those guys sponsor other people in the same way. That's pretty cool. And I was taught that that is what this is all about. Trying to help somebody, get someone into a position where they can then go on and sponsor someone, and so on. Thus we grow. Yeah, and anybody who's familiar with the history of Alcoholics Anonymous, that's kind of what happened before the book was even written. Dr. Bob and Bill Wilson, they realised that if they were going to stay sober, they had to get out there and help other alcoholics. Suddenly it occurred to them both that if they were going to, stay sober, nothing else was going to do it. Nothing else was going to ensure immunity from alcohol than intensive work with another alcoholic. And that's our 12th suggestion, isn't it? And it's amazing because for me, when I'm in that place of being available and being well up for sponsoring people and helping them, taking them through the 12-step process in the book as outlined in chapter 7. There's clear-cut direction in that chapter about what to do. On page 90 to 92, it's quite relevant today, kind of 80 years on, even to crackheads and people doing spice and all sorts of other kind of drug problems, that weren't around back then. Still relevant today, this stuff, and to see the book come alive, going through that process is pretty it's pretty special. But I never really understood, I suppose, what I was truly up against with this condition that I have. And if you have this condition, if you're in this room and you can identify with some of the stories that you hear after I've stopped sharing, when the room's open for people to share back, then you might be in a bit of trouble. And if you're new, you don't know it yet, but you've hit the fucking jackpot being here. Seriously, what's on offer in Cocaine Anonymous is pretty spectacular. And I remember that I was a bit unsure, I suppose, really, or maybe a bit fearful, a bit scared about what my future held for me without drugs or alcohol in my life. Yeah, because I built my life around it, and I'd been a heroin addict for 14 years. So you can imagine with that sort of lifestyle, there's all sorts of complications, but thankfully, you don't need to have that long. That's not a requirement for membership in Cocaine Anonymous. If you're worried about that, yeah. Neither is sort of having been to rehab or having been in jail or having like loads of tattoos or whatever, yeah. It's not a requirement. Anyone can come in here. Yeah, we're broad and roomy. Bring your girlfriend, bring your boyfriend, bring your family. Yeah, come and find out what we're about. Ask people some questions, and the only requirement for membership is the desire to stop using cocaine and all other mind-altering substances, and that desire doesn't even have to be like honest. You can just come here for a cup of tea for as long as you want. It doesn't matter. Welcome. Yeah. And but if you were to seriously consider your predicament and you're really scared, yeah, about using again or using in the way that you're going or where your life's going, and you hear somebody who's sort of, don't really, I'm talking now, yeah, I'm not from round here, so you're going to have to end up probably linking up with somebody who's from this area. That's the best shout for you, yeah. You might hear somebody speaking in in a way that like sort of disturbs you, or is a bit unusual, and might sort of even contradict what you think addiction is or what recovery might be, And I'll tell you, and for me personally, that's something that like really attracted me to Cocaine Anonymous. Having been sort of through the different systems of, all the different kind of institutions and whatnot, for the first time, another person who sort of uses like I was using was speaking to me in another language, in a different way, and I found it a little bit I don't know. I found it was a little bit sort of I don't know. The book talks about it quite openly. It says that we become irritated or refuse to talk. You know what I mean? And I remember being quite irritated by this person, who presented me with this sort of dilemma that I was in, and that I was raising my own defences, and that one day those defences would give way and I would use again. It's like it's strange language, isn't it? Because for a long time, all I got was, it's going to be all right, Andy. Yeah. Come with us. We're going for a kebab. You're going to be all right. And I'd go, okay, how? Yeah, okay. And I'd go, and then when I relapsed, or when I used again, or I was so sort of embarrassed by that relapse, so sort of ashamed and felt so guilty and dirty and sort of like stupid actually and weak. I thought, what is it that what are they doing that I'm not doing? Do you know what I mean? What is it that they're doing but I'm not doing? And it's a painful place to be. I know people like that. There's people like that in this room. You know what I mean? And there's a guy that I sponsor. He was like that, And today he's like about 2 years clean. He doesn't know what's happened to him. Yeah, he was on like a big list of medication. He's not on any meds anymore. He looks different. He looks completely different. And he often says to me, "What's happened, Andy?" I don't know. I really don't know, mate. But whatever it is, you'd better give it away because you're going to lose it if you don't. And it's just as simple as that. This guy, I've got several people in my life, who pushed me quickly into chapter 3 of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, exploring some of the concepts of relapse within that chapter, yeah? You may have read some of it, yeah, you may not have done. The chapter is called More About Alcoholism, yeah? And it wasn't go to the beginning of the book like a normal book that you would read. You start from the beginning, don't you? Yeah? Start from the forewords, the doctor's opinion, Bill's story, there's a solution, blah, 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 It's like straight to chapter 3. It's quite weird, isn't it? To go to the third chapter of a book that you've not read before. But it's a textbook. You know what I mean? It's like a book that, the steps are in the book. The 12-step program up there, look, it's in the book. It's in this book. So as we get to this chapter is sort of prior to step 1, really. It's sort of suggesting that, let's look at what you've been doing to stop relapsing. Let's look at what you've been trying to stay clean, yeah. And then when we strip all that back, when we break it all down, let's see if you want to try some new ideas. Let's see or you can go and continue with those old ideas and see how they work out for you. And if they work out for you, that's cool. If they don't, come back. We'll always be here at 6 o'clock on a Friday night in Turning Point building in Swindon. Yeah, that's it. There's a story about a jaywalker in there, and we study that quite a bit. There's a story of a guy called Fred in that book. We study that quite a bit. There's a story about a guy called Jim in there as well. We study that. We don't just study it, we Google it, we look at the history behind it. Why is it in there? Why didn't they put some other story in there about some badass in there or something, with some serious consequences? But no, that's not, we look at all that sort of stuff, and we try and understand and unlock the importance of it in there, of why it's in there. And I realised, that the importance of understanding all that, because when I'm presented with a new guy who's desperate to get into recovery, I use that information. That's my arsenal. Yeah, chapter 3 is my weapon of mass destruction. Yeah, that's what I'm using to sort of to unite as me and that the new man, the new guy, and when that works, and don't get me wrong, I've messed it up quite a lot, but when it does work, it's powerful, and to get it, and when you get it right, you just know, you can just tell, you just get a feeling, like in their eyes, in their face, yeah. And it's just, it's something that you just do not want to miss, and then when you see that man then go on to do it with other men, just that's the Step 12 Promises, which I will read as like a crescendo at the end of my share to top it all off in a minute, yeah? So it says, most of us have been unwilling to admit that we were real alcoholics. No person likes to think he is bodily and mentally different from his fellows. And the persistence of this illusion that one day I'll be able to regain control, is astonishing. It says that many pursue it into the gates of insanity or death. And it talks about that delusion must be smashed. Yeah, and it can only, I feel, only be smashed, when presented by somebody who's properly armed with the facts about himself, who's studied the book who's got this information, not because he can go, oh, I can quote from the book and you know, I've do you know what I mean? But because of the importance of that information and the effect that it can have on a newcomer. Because, like I said, if you deliver it right and you've perfected it after studying it and understand the importance of it, and you get it right, it is unbelievable. Like, trust me. Like, if you can be that sort of big book detective, you know, and get it just right, and you get into the flow with it, it is powerful. It takes time. I believe it takes a bit of time to do that. But my own experience is, you know, that I've been hated for it. You know, I've been ostracised for it. Been, you know, yeah, you know, it's a price to pay. You know, it talks about there being a price to pay, and you know, I think that you know, Neil said earlier in the PI event, you know, that once you know about this stuff, once you're able to match your experience with that chapter, and once you've sort of lived it, once you've had a spiritual experience, once you've gone out there trying to help others, you know, and once you've sort of like had the experience of seeing someone else recover and going through it all, and you've gone through the process, you know, and you sort of taking regular inventory, and you see that the problem's been removed, and then you're a recovered drug addict. You know, you doing that, helping others, that altruism is just a state of, it's just like a normal thing. I can't remember exactly how you said it, Neil, but it, you know, it's like you're just compelled to do it. It's not like you don't just think, oh, I'll go and phone bloody matey. Or look, oh no, a newcomer. It's like, fuck. You know, and we did agree that sometimes it is like that. Yeah. But the majority of the time, you know, it's amazing. You know, it really is. Just to like be able to sit down as well, you know, with a newcomer and just kind of talk about what defences, what strategies they're trying to adopt to stop themselves from relapsing, yeah, and then break it all down and sort of look at the crux of the problem, right? And the big book's good, really kind of like on point, isn't it? You know, about how it explains that. It says, yeah, so how should we best determine if you are one of us? You know, how am I gonna be able to diagnose you? You know, because you might just have no friends and be here, yeah. You might be just like a weirdo. You might be stalking me, and I'm gonna 12-step you. So I need to find out, yeah, if you're one of us, you know, and how do I do that? Do you know what I mean? Because I've got no qualifications. I've got no, like, you know, I'm not like a professional 12-step person. I'm not an expert on recovery. You know, I've not like been to university and studied how to 12-step somebody. You know, I'm just another crackhead off the street who's not used for a while, who's read a book. Really, like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just winging it, basically. I am. You know, but out, you know, from bitter experience, and I suppose from sort of learning and listening and being open-minded and staying teachable, been able to, you know, be able to put myself in a position where I can be of maximum service to others by what I've learnt from studying the book, yeah. And it talks about, you know, it says, so we shall describe some of the mental states that precede a relapse into drinking, for obviously this is the crux of the problem. You know, what sort of thinking dominates the mind of an alcoholic or an addict who repeats time after time the desperate experiment of the first drink, yeah, the first one. You know, what is going on prior to him taking that first one? You know, what is it about his morals and his memory and his reasoning, yeah, in his willpower. What's going on there? What's going on with the willpower that he sometimes displays, with in other areas of his life? That willpower, memory, and reasoning work well over there, but over here, when it comes to, those vital, important moments before I take that first one, why can't I bring them in? Why can't I use that willpower to stop me from doing it? And there seems to be like a malfunction of my willpower. The book says that addiction or alcoholism, the alcoholic mentality is, an illness which prevents normal functioning of the willpower. No drug worker ever told me that. Did I just say that? Yeah. No one ever explored that with me before. Until a man, like I said, from Cocaine Anonymous, brought it to my attention. And I'd probably read it loads of times, in here. Probably I'm powerless. I never fully sort of probably got it, It was always I'm powerless over her or the people, the places, the things, What does that mean? I don't really understand what that means, but I was just like, I'll go along with that, And never understood that I'm powerless before I take that first one. That's what's going on for me. I can't sort of bring into my consciousness with sufficient force the memory of the suffering and the humiliation of what goes on when I take that first one, or after I take that first one. So I have no defence, and realising that there's nothing that I can do about it, realising that I'm going to need a different power, some other power, a higher power, to provide me with the defence necessary. The kind of defence that keeps me from putting my hand on a hot stove. That's the kind of defence that I want. That's the kind of defence that I need to stop me from doing it again. And I built a relationship with that power thanks to Cocaine Anonymous. And other than that, there's not really a lot more I can say. Just that. The 12 steps of Cocaine Anonymous over a period of time have helped dismantle my illusion of power over relapse. I'm no longer in a period of kind of, not using. I'm living life without drugs. That's what's going on. That's what's going on for me. And that's what's on offer, isn't it? In Cocaine Anonymous, I've recovered from that condition. What that means is, what I learned, what recovered means, is that I am no longer sort of employing strategies or adopting new sort of like concepts to keep myself from relapsing. I've just let go absolutely, and yeah, it's pretty cool. And so, I just want to end on the 12-step results. What page is it, Len? 80 something.
Step 12 result is
89. You should know this, mate.
89.
Yeah, so if you're new, welcome to Cocaine Anonymous. Stick around. Afterwards, just get some numbers, and your life can dramatically change. And it says practical experience. It's on page 89, chapter 7, working with others. It says practical experience shows that nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking as intensive work with other alcoholics or addicts. It works when other activities fail. This is our 12th suggestion. Carry this message to other addicts. You can help when no one else can. You can secure their confidence when others fail. Remember, they are very ill. Life will take on new meaning to watch people recover, to see them help others, to watch loneliness vanish, and to see a fellowship grow up about you, to have a host of friends. This is an experience you must not miss. We know you will not want to miss it. Frequent contact with newcomers and with each other is the bright spot of our lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. The floor is open for sharing back.